Hello and welcome to the channel. Today on my bench I have a size 12 Waltham Riverside grade 19 jewel movement from 1911, which happens to have a ruined dial on it. And I also happen to have a beautiful and ultra rare white enamel dial with blue numerals on a ruined movement. So we're going to do a little mixing and matching here and make ourselves a beautiful and rare wristwatch using a 44mm stainless steel case. I've serviced a lot of movements on my channel here, and you can see my other videos if you want to hear me voice over the entire servicing process, but I'm going to fast forward through the disassembly at 4 times standard speed, and that will save me from having to time edit the video and cut out every single tool change and make it possible to just publish this. I've got 2 camera angles on it, so go ahead and watch this as it disassembles, and I'll be back when that's through. So as you can see, the screw heads, especially the ones for the case, were pretty rusty on this watch, and there's one there. And since these are domed screws, which is kind of rare, usually they're flat, I'm going to polish them on a polishing wheel. Just going to put them in the pin vise, give them a quick polish, and they look like that. And I'll go ahead and fast forward through the rest of the screws getting polished. Try to keep this video under an hour. And once everything's disassembled and polished up, I put it all into the cleaning machine. I've modified this cleaning machine with ultrasonics and bidirectional agitation, which if that's something you want to see how it was done, I have a video I recently published on that. Go ahead and check that out in my recent publications. And that's it for ultrasonic cleaning. I'll go ahead and take everything out of the basket and lay it out nice and neat before we get started. And again, trying to keep this under an hour. I'll fast forward through a lot of it, but try to keep most of the content there so you get an idea of what happens. I put the plates loosely back onto the main plate so that they don't bang against each other in the ultrasonic and agitation cycles of the cleaning machine, so we don't get scratches on the plates. If you leave the screws loose, fluid can get underneath the plates and clean any oil that might be there, and also keep it all together enough so that they don't scratch each other. And I'm going to dump out the rest of the little pieces. I dumped them off screen here, but I'll push them all back on screen here in just a second. And then I'll go to super fast forward here, 16 times life speed, as I lay them all out on the clean paper here so you can see all the parts. And there was absolutely nothing remarkable about the reassembly and lubrication. So go ahead and let it play here at real-time speed. And if you want to hear a voiceover about what lubrications I use and the process, I have plenty of other videos I posted about watch servicing, so go check those out. I'll be back to narrate after the assembly of the movement's done. that's the movement all serviced up. Next we'll get to removing this donor dial from its scrap movement. And luckily we have a seconds hand there, which our original movement is missing, so we'll be able to use that too. These enamel dials clean up like brand new. It's basically glass, so since glass doesn't oxidize, everything you see on a dial there is just oils and grease from sitting exposed for probably about 100 years. And we will pop that off, and you can clean them. If you have cracks in your dial, you can actually clean these with ultrasonic cleaners, and that will vibrate the dirt out of the cracks, and you basically won't see them. This dial is perfect, so you won't need to hide any cracks or anything, but you can clean it with an ultrasonic cleaner. You can clean it with just soap and water, which is what I did with this one. I lost the footage of that, but I just, it was like 10 seconds with a toothbrush and some soapy water and just scrubbed it. You can use Windex. You can clean with whatever you want. The original hands that came with this Riverside movement were gold painted steel, it looks like. So usually these Louis XIV hands are actually solid gold, but these happen to be painted steel, so it's kind of fortunate for me because I can polish these hands and heat blue them, and they should match the blue dial beautifully and be something very unique and cool. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm polishing the oxidation off of the hands because they need to be perfectly polished. Can't have any oxidation, any polishing route. They have to be clean, spotless. And in a minute here, I'll show you the hands after cleaning. That's a polished steel hand, and we'll toss these onto a brass plate and heat that brass plate to about 300 degrees Celsius. As the plate heats, it will transfer that heat into the steel and hopefully evenly move the plate around so that the heat gets evenly distributed through that brass plate. And as you can see, the hands start changing colors. They're starting to go a little bit yellow right now. And the longer you go, the warmer the plate gets and the more the color changes. I'm going to pull off the second hand because it's small and it warmed up faster than the other two. And the other two, after a little while, are a nice shade of blue. You just keep going until you get to the color you like, and then pull them off the heat. Here we'll pop on our dial, which I'm putting the minute wheel back on again. I took it off while I was working on the timing of the movement and everything. So we'll put that minute wheel back on, the hour wheel on, the dial washer. Now you get to see our nice white and blue dial, which again, these are ultra rare. If you look all over, you have to look far and wide to find one with blue numerals. But it cleaned up beautifully. It looks like a brand new dial, and it is 110 plus years old. Pop our dial onto our movement here. In just a second, we'll get to see how those hands look against this white and blue dial. Pretty sure I'm going to like it. Here comes our second hand. A perfect match. The hour and minute hands reflect the light in an interesting way because they're not flat. Usually hands are flat or just have a dome to them. These are very intricate hands, and they play with the light in a really interesting way. You see white spots and dark spots and a very unique look. Those are the hands installed. We'll get on to casing this up. I use a 44 millimeter case for these size 12 pocket watches. I need to custom modify the bezel to fit over these bigger movements. But by making the bezel fit myself, I get to make a perfect fit, a friction fit, which means there's no slop right and left in the case at all. And in a minute here, I'll explain to you how I keep the movement from having any slop up and down in the case. Just in the off event, it should get banged in some way that pops it out of that friction fit. I have a little solution for the vertical fit, and that's with the casing screws here. Put just a lightest drop of Loctite on the casing screws. Run the casing screws all the way down into the movement. What I'm going to do is put the case back on and then back these screws out until the screws just touch the case back, which will keep the movement solid in the case. The movement can't move up and down in the case because of the screws pressing against the case back, and it can't move right and left because the bezel's been cut to the exact same diameter as the movement. Get asked about that frequently when people see these videos, so I was going to explain that a little better this time. So here we're wrenching that case back on to full tightness, and then we just back out this casing screw until it touches the case back. Then I can remove the case back, pop in the crystal. The screws won't move because they are lightly Loctited in there, but they can always be removed just by unscrewing them in the future. And the bezel I've cut also has been cut exactly to the diameter of the dial, so the dial is not in contact with the bezel in any way, which means there's no risk of breaking that glass dial by any impacts, which is really nice. Here we're going to show the timing of the watch. It's about 4 seconds a day fast at 264 amplitude with a 1.2 millisecond beat error. All great timing specs for a watch like this. And we'll move on to pressure testing. These are water resistant watches. I've tested the 3 bar and they always pass. A lot of people ask me why I test them with the movement in the case, since there's the risk of water getting in, which is slight. The pressure tester is designed to not let water into the case because you pressurize the watch above the water, and when you lower the watch down into the water and release the pressure, air escapes, but water doesn't get in until the air finishes escaping. So as long as you remove the watch from the water before the bubbles stop coming out, there's no risk of water getting in and damaging the movement. But also these just never leak. Every time I've tested one, they've been watertight. So I test them like they're going to ship. And they're ready to go. We'll finish up here by popping on a band and showing you some finished pictures. These bands are quick change bands, which means you can change them just by using your fingers. No tools needed, which is nice if somebody likes to match their watch to their belt or their shoes. They're going out for an evening. I ship these in a wooden presentation box with a couple of spots for additional bands. If you want a black and other colored bands, just let me know and I can ship those along with the watch. Here's the watch displayed on a turntable, all finished up. QR code at the top right corner of the screen. You can scan if you're interested in purchasing this watch or one like it. They'll take you to my store. Here's a couple different angles. If you have a custom project you want to work on, a watch that you already have, it was an heirloom piece. I've done plenty of those for people. You can send it over to me and I'll case it up for you and send it back. You can find my contact information in the video description below. So I'll pop this into one of my padded cases here so that it's ready to ship. And like I said, got a couple slots there for additional bands should you want them. And I also put in a winding wrench here, which you can use if you find it hard to wind the watch. If your fingers are a little arthritic or just not as nimble, you can use that to wind the watch a little easier. And that's the watch done. Thank you for watching to the end, and please like and subscribe. It helps me more than you know with the algorithm. And I'll catch you on the next one.